Glad to be able to introduce to you Danny Olda, who is our new, not so new anymore, but newish curator, and Kathy Milam will be asking Danny some questions about what he does. Got one. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good. That is
Good.
Here.
First of all, could you tell us about you, Dan?
Yes. So my name is Danny Olda. I am 42. My wife and my daughter, we live all here together in Clearwater, so just about 10-15 minutes south of here. Yes, that's right. I've lived in Clearwater mostly my whole life. I left for a little while just to go to school, and I came back again to end up marrying my wife. I was born in Queens, New York. My family are immigrants from Serbia. They're ethnically Romanian, and so I'm the first generation born here. But that's about it. I've lived here pretty much my whole life, so I'm very familiar with the area.
Very good. So what exactly is a curator, in your opinion?
Well, that is a good question.
Yes.
There's a lot of debate over that. But how I view what I do for my job is I take care of artists, I take care of their artwork, and I create exhibitions. And what a curator does seems to really be evolving. Kind of preparing for this talk today, I was thinking about the word curate, and it comes from what essentially would be a pastor of a congregation, like a curate, and they took care of the objects in the church, of course, and the members of their congregation, and it kind of feels that way too. I take care of the artwork, and I take care of the artists.
So that's pretty much what your day-to-day looks like, right? When you walk into the center on Monday, what you're doing?
Sometimes I like to mention that my job's a lot more boring than people think it is, but that's not necessarily true either. I have a really fun job. Way better than most people's, I have to admit. But a lot of the day-to-day is talking to artists, getting to know them, but also a lot of paperwork type stuff, spreadsheets, like taking care of insurance, shipping, and labels, and agreements. So that is a lot of my day-to-day. Right after this day, I'm gonna put on a t-shirt and go hang up some work with my partner James here. So we're kind of all over the place. A lot of studio visits. I like to do those quite a bit, to go visit artists, see what they're working on, get curious about their artwork, and ask them about that kind of thing.
So what aspect do you actually love?
Oh boy, there's two of them in particular. I really like hanging the work. I like just the quiet of being with the art and being by myself in the gallery space, measuring it, getting it all perfect. It's very relaxing and meditative. The other part is that I love being curious about artists and their artwork. Being a curator, it lets me visit artists and sit in their studio and ask them all the questions I'm curious about. I realize very few people have that opportunity, and so I take advantage of it because it's my job, but also because it's my personal interest. And so I do that whenever I can. Just sit with the artists and ask them all the questions I have in my mind.
Absolutely. So what path did you take to get here?
Oh, it was very
Over
windy.
the years, yeah. What got you here?
This is not where I expected to be at all, but it was a very windy path, and I suspect it's like that for most people. When I first left for school, I mentioned my parents are immigrants. They wanted me to choose something very pragmatic, the way many immigrant parents do. So, but I'm creative. I can't ever let that go. So my pragmatic approach to school was I majored in fashion design because at least people buy fashion. Presumably, I learned really quickly that I'm terrible at it. Every aspect except for the sketching, the fashion sketches. So I quickly switched my major. I returned back here to Florida after school as an artist, primarily in painting. And then just one day, there was an exhibition at Tempest Projects in Tampa. It's a nonprofit space over there. And I wanted more people to know about it, so I wrote a blog post. And that blog post turned into a blog, and from there I was asked to write articles for various publications, and I became an art critic and an editor from there. And so that led to a kind of a career in art criticism. I did that for a while for various magazines and blogs all over the country and the world. And one day, the same thing with curation. there was an artist I wish more people knew about, and I asked an artist friend of mine, Kirk Kowang. He was a guest once for one of the coffee conversations, actually, if I could borrow his studio space to put up an exhibition. And he let me have it for a weekend. And so we put up the exhibition of Sharon Norwood. She lived just around the corner from here back then. And that exhibition led to many more exhibitions. And I realized that this is what I like to do. Not making my own art, but enjoying other people's work. And being able to present it in a way that really moves people or challenges people. And so I've been doing it ever since. That's been about 12 years now.
So what misconceptions do you think people have about the curator and their job?
There's a few. For curating, I do get a lot that when I tell people I'm a curator, they tell me, oh, so you pick where the art goes. And that's technically true. I do that. It's such a small part of it. But I think that's one of the big ones. I just kind of point where I want the art to go, and that's it. Curating actually involves quite a bit more than that, though that is one of the most fun parts. Yeah.
So could you tell us about some of the challenging aspects of your job?
Yeah, and in each kind of venue, there's different things. Some nonprofits have very few resources to work with. Some have, it's difficult to engage with certain communities. Here, it's been absolutely wonderful. But the challenge that I think is kind of common to all of them is always keeping great relationships with artists. That's, I'd say, maybe the most important thing a curator can do, is get to know artists and have great working relationships with them. Because that's where every exhibition starts. Your reputation with artists is kind of foundational to all the work I do after that. And so kind of staying up to date with the large body of artists that I know and I'd like to work with and I have worked with, that's one of the main ones. Also, always kind of navigating your personal taste and your professional taste, the needs of the community versus what you would like to do personally, professionally. That kind of balance is always a little bit of a challenge too, but just threading that needle all the time.
What advice would you give someone that was thinking about becoming a curator?
I would say to just do it. It's not easy. I curated a good 5 to 7 years maybe before I got paid for my first gig. It was because it was something that I loved doing. I love putting shows together, and so I worked as an independent curator. I would pitch shows to various for-profit and non-profit gallery spaces and travel all over Florida to put these up. But those first few years are very challenging, but if it's something you like doing, to keep at it, because it builds your resume, and eventually you will find that paying job. But it's the same as artists. Artists have a hard time finding the ability to make a living off of it as well. But to not give up. The other thing is to, like I mentioned, maintaining good relationships with artists. It's absolutely vital. The relationship a curator has with artists is very, very important. Because it kind of feels like that bottleneck of where artists meet the gallery space is right where the curator stands. And so keeping those relationships healthy and that reputation really well with the artists, it makes everything much easier.
When you go to an exhibit, what are you particularly looking for?
Oh,
Or noticing
yeah.
the most? So
I love to go to exhibitions after the opening reception, when it's quiet in there. I can be by myself a little bit. And I'm not maybe influenced so much by other people's opinions, but I like to do a quick walk around just to see how the exhibition looks as a whole, because all the pieces always speak to each other. I like to compare it to an album, where the individual art pieces are like songs, and the whole exhibition is like an album. So I like to listen through it all the way once through, and then to go to each individual piece. When I go with my wife or my daughter, I like to ask them what's their favorite work and what's their least favorite work, and I kind of do the same thing myself, and then kind of investigate that further. Why is it my least favorite, or why is it my favorite? Or how do two pieces speak to each other? Why did the curator put these two pieces next to each other? What's the artist's intent? How do I perceive it? But that's kind of where I start with every single exhibition.
Have you been able to bring your family into your career, so to speak?
A little bit. I do rely on my wife's opinion a lot because it's very similar to mine, but it challenges mine a little bit. You know, she's had just the experience of coming to every exhibition I put on and looking through it. So I have there, my daughter's 12, so it feels like she gets involved in art a lot, but like despite me. So she loves it here. She just doesn't hang around me when we're here. She likes to explore and talk to all the rest of the staff here. But we'll see what she ends up doing. So yeah.
Do you have a career crush?
Oh goodness, I do.
Where you're going, what the future brings?
Yes, and it's funny because I described it this way too, where I have brain crushes. So I was thinking, you know, there's a couple that immediately come to mind. One not local is the curator Hans Ulrich Obrist. He's a Swiss curator, and I love the way he works with artists. He really prioritizes and foregrounds the artist and their vision, and that always makes such a successful and open-minded exhibition. It's something very unexpected, and it involves people and engages them in ways they didn't expect. I really love the way he works. I have a quote of his on my door at my office. The other career crush is local, actually. Tracy Medula. She's a curator, a gallerist at Tempest Projects in Tampa. That first gallery that kind of got me started here locally. Her taste is impeccable. There's that, but also she doubles not only as a curator, but as somebody who organizes the community, as a kind of community organizer for the arts, makes shows happen in very practical ways, which I always admired. It's easy to just get stuck in the office and sit there and think abstractly about art and think abstractly about exhibitions, but I love the way she gets into the trenches and visits artists. She's physically taking care of sick artists. It's a lot of great, hard community work, and I really like that about her, and I've tried to emulate that myself too.
Very good, well, thank you. Do we have any questions from Dan?
Do we have any questions for Dan, folks? Come on. Oh, there we go.
I was curious, I think they plan for shows like 2 years in advance. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I have a preliminary 2-year plan for the exhibitions here. And it took a good bit of work because we have a lot of space here too. 3 large spaces, 3 small spaces that I curate. I always keep a long list of a spreadsheet of artists that I have worked with or would like to work with. So I have it's a very big spreadsheet by name, where they live, their media, their theme, if I've worked with them before. And so when I want to put together an exhibition, it's it's a little bit easier because I can pick out from that list pretty quickly who I want to work with. If it's a watercolor show, I can sort by all my watercolor artists that I've been really wanting to work with for a while. I also keep a running list of themes I've been wanting to explore that I'm looking forward to doing. And when an opportunity pops up, it comes up. I'm able to kind of put that in. As an example, one of our instructors, our director of adult ed, Dion, he had an amazing series of work of clay pieces that were designed to fall apart over the course of an exhibition. I thought that would be a cool exhibition. An exhibition of art that's designed to fall apart by the time the exhibition's over. Artwork, an exhibition with a literal lifespan. By the time that it's done, it dies. And so I put that in my spreadsheet. I got Dion, I've got that idea, and I just wait. And I ran into another artist. You know, she makes work with live plants. And the plants die over the course of the exhibition. She gets added to the spreadsheet too. And so over time, eventually, as I meet more and more people, they kind of flesh themselves out.
Any other questions? Up over here.
How do you judge art? How do you do that? Yeah, I think everything has its, but how do you do that?
It's a challenge, and I've gotten a little bit used to it. I'm going to be doing a really big show. I just had a training for one last night where we're going to have about 800 submissions I have to go through. coming up. And like I mentioned before, there's my personal taste and there's my professional taste, and they overlap sometimes, but not always. There's a lot of work that I don't personally like very much, but I know it's good. It's good work. So there are some of the basic, some of the more formal, I guess, typesetting. Some of the more formal aspects of art, such as composition and color, the visual rhythm of a piece. I feel like you can tell right away how intentional an artist was in creating their work. And something I heard that was very interesting is that people with no background in art can still pretty consistently and accurately tell what is a good abstract painting and what is not. I feel like there's something innate in us as humans that we know what good art looks like, and not second guessing ourselves so much about it. But when I do look at a piece, I can tell often when there's a lot of intention in the composition of a piece and the use of color. And so those are the first things. And then the second thing is a little bit more intuitive and subjective, which is how effective it is at communicating the artist's intent and message. Because it's pretty easy usually to tell what the artist is trying to say, sometimes, not always. And then looking at how effectively are they saying that, how moving is that message now that I know what they're trying to say, or how moving a piece is in general, because art necessarily doesn't always make us happy, but if it moves us very effectively, if it makes us sad or angry or confused because it intended to do that, then it feels like it's doing a good job as an art piece. So a lot of subjective stuff in there, but it's interesting to see when I judge an art show how it compares to the way somebody else with taste very different to mine would have done it. I noticed right before I started working here, actually, Catherine asked me to jury a show, and our taste overlapped quite a bit, even though I know our personal taste is actually very different from each other. But we would have, and we switched places. I became curator and I asked her to judge an art show. And the same thing happened again, even though I know our personal taste is very different. The way we award pieces was actually very, very similar. We were only off by about 2 or 3 art pieces. Yeah, and so coming up for this show, we've got Lynn Whitelaw. He's gonna be jurying this one. And I'm curious to see what that will be like. I have a feeling it'll be exactly the same way.
Very good. Any other questions?
I got one. Yes. What are the special challenges for 3D work for you when you have to mix it with 2D work in a show?
Oh, there's some very basic ones I think maybe some people don't think about is how to walk around the piece, to allow enough space for people to walk and see it without it bothering the pieces on the wall, because people are gonna back up to look at a piece on the wall. You don't want them to hit the sculptural piece. Lighting the work well from all angles is also one. Also predicting how people will interact with it. I notice when people, generally speaking, they go into the gallery space, they pause at the door, and oftentimes they will do counterclockwise through the gallery space. And kind of knowing the first angle they'll see the work from will be from the door, and the second one will be when they tour the whole exhibition. Position it in such a way, knowing that it can be hard sometimes, and predicting how people will interact with space, especially as there are more and more variables of various pedestals, but also the pragmatics, make sure nobody breaks it. That always makes me nervous. We had one piece, I worked at Curator also a long time ago. We had an enormously large glass boat. It was about 16 feet long, and it was all glass. We had kids running around in there. It made me so nervous. And putting it in such a way that somebody couldn't run into it accidentally, that was challenging, yeah.
Any other questions?
Julie?
Yeah, I just wondering, Dan, you could tell us about the exhibit that you're doing later this year?
Yeah, so we've got 4 exhibitions all opening up on September 19th. That's right, 4 exhibitions. Yes, so the one you see here is a small part of the source, which is our call to artists, the community, and they really showed up. I believe we got about 165 to 170 pieces in, which is even more than we got for our SMF show. So, and it's a beautiful work, as you see here in the atrium, but that's gonna fill up this space, the Meta Brown Gallery and the Rossi Gallery as well, and a little bit more in this space as well. That kind of looks at the source of our inspiration. This is one that Catherine has set up before she left. And so I'm really excited about that. We have so many amazing pieces in this show. In the Gamble Gallery, we'll have a solo exhibition by Yali Elon. He's a Dunedin-based artist. He does a very illustrative, narrative style. It's very fun to look at, and on the surface, it's just very fun and cool looking. But if you sit with it for a bit, you'll start to see the narrative that goes into each piece, the story he's trying to tell with it. And in the two other galleries, the Entel Family Gallery and the Douglas Whitley Gallery, it will be one exhibition. It's a retrospective of Tampa's projects. They've been around for 16 years as a nonprofit space in Tampa, really shaped the cultural scene over there. And so we're gonna have one artist for every year they've been in existence. 16 artists between the two gallery spaces. It's an amazing mix of media from sculpture, photography, video. We've got a neon light sculpture that will be in there. And it's really a look at the way nonprofit art spaces foster a healthy creative community, and how together we shape healthy artistic communities. And so that will take up those two spaces. And upstairs, we're gonna have the exhibition now in the studio. We've got 3 of our newest instructors here to be showing their work. We've got quill, pastel, and oil painting up there by 3 of our newest instructors, which will be really cool. All opening on September 19th, so it'll be an awesome opening and reception. If you could be here, it's gonna be so much fun.
Well, Dan, we thank you so much for your time and information. It's been a pleasure, and we really look forward to seeing your transformation through DFAC. This is a nice opportunity for us. So let's give Dan
Thank
one
you.
more big hand.
Thank you.